Every woman in the world wants to sleep with him, literally. All he has to do is choose, and whichever woman he wants, he can take her home. It all begins in his childhood, while Charlie is playing spin the bottle with his friends, even though he's hoping for a cute blonde. The bottle lands on a goth girl. He's supposed to make out with her inside the closet, but Charlie gets freaked out by her appearance and pushes her away. The goth girl doesn't take it well and puts a curse on him. Whichever woman he sleeps with will meet the love of her life the very next day, and Charlie will never be truly happy with anyone. Years later, a grown-up Charlie works as a dentist, while his best friend Stu is a plastic surgeon. Stu jokes about his patients always being young and attractive women, while Charlie has to work with elderly people. One day after work, Charlie attends the wedding of his ex-girlfriend, who makes a toast to him, calling him her lucky charm. Word has spread that whenever a woman sleeps with him, she almost immediately meets her soulmate. And because of that, Charlie is highly desired among women. But then his eyes meet with real beauty, a clumsy girl named Cam. He quickly takes the opportunity to meet her, and the two begin talking. Cam works at a penguin habitat in Aquaworld. Charlie is immediately smitten with her, but she's extremely clumsy and somehow manages to make every situation worse. The next day, when Charlie arrives at his office, he's greeted by a crowd of women hoping to get some of his luck, and it would be stupid of him not to share it, right? On his way home from work, Charlie runs into another one of his ex-girlfriends, who is about to get married. Even though he doesn't believe in the curse, he's starting to get worried. Once he gets home, he has 14 voice messages from random girls, and he simply chooses the most attractive one for the night. At the same time, clumsy Cam gets into yet another accident and chips one of her teeth. She remembers that Charlie is a dentist and quickly gives him a call. Even though he's in the middle of scaling a fish, he immediately rushes to his office to help her with her tooth. Just as they begin flirting, she gets into another accident, but this time, Charlie ends up hurt. She pulls it out while he's hoping to put it in, and he invites her to dinner. She politely rejects him and walks away. Minutes later, she comes back, but only because her car won't start. He tries to help her, and she revs the engine while his fingers are still inside. He almost dies a couple of times around her. Let's just say the head he's thinking with isn't the one on his shoulders. Once the car is finally fixed, she realizes her keys are locked inside. Charlie offers to drive her home so she can get a spare key. He asks her if these kinds of things happen often, and she admits that she's broken 12 bones over the past few years. She even manages to remove the roof of his car, thinking it was the heat button. When they arrive at her house, she literally has to break in because her house key is also locked inside her car. Sometime later, they return to the garage, where she once again creates more awkward situations for herself. But it seems Charlie doesn't mind. And that penguin heading towards mountains, at least now we know where he was going. Later that night, Charlie returns home, where he's startled by his receptionist, Reba. She's heard about the charm and wants a piece of his luck. He isn't really interested, but sometimes the apple at the top of the tree is hard to reach, so a guy has to settle for one on the ground, even if it's a little rotten and full of worms. Stu gets really upset, saying Charlie can choose any woman he wants, and he ended up sleeping with Reba. He then shows him all the beautiful girls, telling him that whether the curse is real or not, he should take advantage of it. From that day on, Charlie gets really busy, helping all these women find their true love. One after another, they all meet their soulmates the very next day. At one point, he even finds out that one of them used to be his high school buddy, before the operation. After thousands of women have passed through his life, he realizes he doesn't want to eat fish anymore. So he deletes 1008 messages and decides to try a penguin instead. He heads to Aquaworld. He starts flirting with Cam, throwing in a couple of penguin jokes. No, wait, that might have been me. But anyway, she finally agrees to go out with him. Later, on their date, they begin asking each other deeper questions, slowly getting to know one another, and the evening turns very romantic, until she bangs her head on a streetlight. Still, he uses the opportunity to lean in closer and kiss her while she's lying on the ground. On their next date, he decides to take the relationship to the next level and buys her a present she desperately needs: Band-Aids. They end up spending the entire day together, and they end up at her place. There, they begin kissing, and just as they're about to merge their bodies, his phone rings. When he answers, Stu tells him he has some really important information. Charlie says the timing couldn't be worse, as he watches Cam slowly undress. But Stu informs him that Reba just got married. And not only that, he started calling every single one of Charlie's exes, and they're all married. Charlie tells him how much he hates him, as he's now faced with the most difficult choice of his life. A choice so heavy that no man should ever have to carry that kind of burden. Still not willing to lose her, he says it's a dental emergency, and that children's lives are at stake, as he rushes out. The next day, Charlie decides to truly put the curse to the test and make sure this isn't just one big coincidence. Stu finds the perfect woman for the experiment, saying she's angry, rude, smells bad, and on top of back acne, she has front acne and even side acne. Stu almost throws up just describing her. Anyway, Charlie approaches her and asks her to have dinner with him, to which she responds by farting. So Charlie offers her $1,000 for dinner, and she accepts. While she devours the poor lobster, Charlie keeps taking shot after shot after shot, and once he notices she's starting to get romantic, he simply takes another shot. The two then go back to his house and have an amazing time together. So amazing that afterward, Charlie takes a bath, scrubbing himself with disinfectant. He then pretends to be sick and tries to keep his relationship with Cam long distance, until he finds out whether the curse is real. During that period, Charlie even puts on a wedding ring, desperately trying to reject all the women coming after him. Weeks pass, and Charlie begs Stu to go on a date with the big woman, saying he can't pretend to be sick forever, and they need to test the curse immediately. He barely manages to convince him, but eventually Stu agrees and approaches her. Later that night, Charlie talks with Cam, who gets very flirty and makes the situation even more difficult by sending him a spicy picture of herself. Suddenly, he gets a second call. Stu informs him that he went out with the big woman and has no desire to propose to her, so Charlie should be in the clear. But in the middle of his explanation, he realizes Charlie isn't even there anymore. He's already standing in front of Cam's house, where he literally throws her onto the bed, and I think you know the rest. The next morning, Charlie wakes up feeling pretty happy with himself, until he sees something on TV, something that makes his blood run cold. The big woman from before has found her soulmate. He immediately calls Stu, who admits he didn't want to risk it, so he simply asked her what time it was and ran away. Charlie gets furious with him. Realizing he's about to lose Cam, he prepares her breakfast in bed, more like an entire buffet in bed. Charlie also fills her workplace with thousands of flowers and a million balloons. And if that wasn't enough, a live band walks in singing and presenting her with a gift, which turns out to be him dressed as a penguin. But instead of being impressed, she's actually repulsed by his awkward behavior. Charlie immediately rushes to Stu's office, where he sees that Stu has put Charlie's sign on his own door. Charlie interrupts him in the middle of an appointment and tells him that Cam will fall in love with the next guy she goes out with. So if Stu as a plastic surgeon can change his face, maybe he can become that next guy. But Stu tells him the only thing he can offer is a breast implant because that's all he does. Realizing his only hope is to take a leap of faith, Charlie decides to ask Cam to marry him, but instead, he sees her with another guy. He gets furious and attacks him, viciously beating him with a penguin balloon, only to find out the guy is her hairdresser. In all his desperate attempts to fix things, he just ends up making a fool of himself. Later that day, sitting in the rain and feeling sorry for himself, Charlie notices a spinning bottle on the ground that lands perfectly pointing at a goth girl. Suddenly, he remembers he and Stu immediately track down the girl from his childhood who ruined his life. And Charlie goes to her house. When she opens the door, he explains who he is and begs her to remove the curse. She invites him inside and tells him she was just a kid back then and had no idea what she was doing, explaining that there's no such thing as a curse. With that in mind, Charlie heads to Aqua World, but when he sees Cam with another man, he no longer knows what to believe. He spends the next few days playing penguin games and feeling sorry for himself, until Stu shows up at his house to tell him that Cam is leaving for Antarctica. Still not ready to give up, Charlie rushes to the airport, completely ignoring the line as he buys a ticket and quickly boards the plane. There he opens his heart and confesses his love to Cam, but she calmly tells him to relax. She'll be back in a couple of days. When he asks about the other guy, she points out that the woman sitting next to him is his wife, and they're just going to Antarctica for the penguins. The two immediately start kissing. At the same time, the goth girl takes Charlie's voodoo doll out of a box and removes his curse. 1 year later, Charlie and Cam are together in Antarctica, kissing among the penguins until their tongues get stuck together in the freezing cold, and that's where the film ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video. Thanks for watching.